Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mothership, Dying Hard on Hardlight Station. My name is Mike. My pronouns are he/him, and I will be the warden for tonight's adventure. We are playing on the Gauntlet calendar. The Gauntlet is an online role-playing gaming community. We run a monthly calendar. We run about 100 games a month. The games are free and open to anyone who are interested in joining, although many games do have a bit of a wait list. Signing up in advance is you generally have to sign up in advance, although we do have wait lists and people regularly come in off the wait list. In addition to playing games, we are also a podcast network. We run a blog. We have forums. We're also a small publishing company. If you're interested in learning more about the Gauntlet, check us out at gauntlet-rpg.com. A little bit about myself. I've been playing tabletop role-playing games for a very long time. I started back in the early 80s. Mostly back then I played a lot of D&D, but I was always into sci-fi gaming as well. Back in the 80s, I played some Star Frontiers, and in the 90s, I mostly played GURPS, and several of those campaigns were sci-fi. In the 90s, in the aughts, I mostly went back to D&D 3rd edition and then Pathfinder. But then in 2015, I kind of fell pretty deep into the story game pool. That's mostly what I've been playing. Although in recent years, I've also become recently very interested in the old school Renaissance. Mothership is kind of an old school Renaissance game in that it has in that your characters live very long. We'll find out. Anyway, that's enough about me. Let's go around the table and introduce our players. Let's go clockwise as you appear in my gallery view here. So, I'm sorry. Forgive me if I mispronounce this. Macnick.
Well, at least we know who's up. It's Machinik, he/they, member of the Gauntlet since like 2019-ish. Let's see. Yeah, the last thing I ran on the Gauntlet was the Butter Princess, trophy hack type game, and I did that for GCOG, which is our Gauntlet community open gaming, which is something that I think everybody here enjoys.
Oh yeah.
I think that's about it. I haven't played Mothership before, but I have read the rules, so there we go.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Welcome to have you aboard. Mark, would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Mark. I use pronouns he/him. I've been playing with Gauntlet about as long as Machinik has. And I am just coming off of a run of an alien RPG hack called Alien World. So I'm right back out in space here today and looking forward to it. Thanks.
Glad to have you. Gray, would you please introduce yourself?
Hey, my name is Gray. My pronouns are they, them. I've been playing games on the Gauntlet for about a year. I have never played Mothership before, but I'm a fan of all things sci-fi.
Awesome. And Joe.
Hello, I'm Joe. He/him. I've think about 18 months on the Gauntlet. I was a classic tale of 80s gaming and then 20 years of no gaming and then back at it. And I have played Mothership once at Origins. I did a one shot at Origins this year, so I am not the resident expert by any stretch of the imagination.
Awesome. Yeah, I didn't mention I joined the Gauntlet back in late 2017. So yeah, that's about right. Anyway, we're thereabouts. I don't know. Time has no meaning these days. So I've never run Mothership before, so this is going to be a learning experience for most of us. But I've read the rules. They're pretty straightforward. They're pretty OSR-y, and I'm very comfortable with OSR games. So we'll see how it goes. Okay then. Let's talk a little bit about safety at the table. So the first thing I like to do whenever we start is to just make sure that we're here to play the same game, I like to go over CATS. Now, CATS is an acronym that stands for concept, aim, tone, and subject matter, and it's sort of like the high-level elevator pitch of this game. So we are playing Dying Hard in Hardlight Station. This is it's a published module for Mothership. The version I have, I think, was for the original edition. I'm kind of converting it on the fly for first edition. They're pretty close. So Dying Hard on Hardlight Station is an action horror adventure for Mothership that was inspired by 80s action films. So the concept of this is the characters are personnel aboard a space station that houses a medical research facility when something very bad happens. It's basically this game is Die Hard. Basically, this game is Die Hard meets The Thing in space. The aim of this game is to tell a compelling action horror story of survival or not against enemies that are both alien and far too human. The tone of this game, I'm going for like 1980s action horror. So mostly serious, but there's going to be moments of sardonic humor. I've noticed, like looking through this adventure, if you know like 80s action movies, there's a lot of there are going to be a lot of familiar names here. So it's going to be interjected with some, it's going to be injected with some light humor, the kind of stuff you'd see in like, Die Hard. And the subject matter. So this is a sci-fi horror game. There is going to be body horror. There's going to be blood. There's going to be graphic violence. As is usual for games like this, it's usually set in the setting is usually a capitalist dystopia. So there's going to be a whole lot of corporate malfeasance. Any questions on CATS before we continue? Okay. So before we got started, I did send everyone a link to a character keeper. Does everyone have that? Okay, if you could click over to the Safety and Resources tab, we're going to talk a little bit about emotional safety at the game table. So when we play role-playing games, we're opening up ourselves a little bit. We're making ourselves open to interesting experiences that we're playing vicariously through this make-believe character. But we're still, we're all still people that are playing these characters and playing these games. And each of us have a different set of life experiences. Things that it might be perfectly okay for you to talk about or to bring up in a game environment, I might have a hard time with, or I just might not want to. I might not think is something that I might not think like including these elements in a game is fun because I deal with them enough in my real life. So safety tools are a means of trying to mitigate the potential for emotional damage that can happen in a game like this. Because essentially we're a bunch of strangers that are getting together over the internet to play a game, and each of us is more important than this game we're playing. The purpose of this endeavor that we're doing is to have fun, and safety tools allow us to concentrate on the fun and hopefully avoid the not so fun stuff that could come up during a game. We're going to be using 3 formal safety tools tonight in a layered approach. And the first one I want to talk about is kind of the most basic. It's called the open door policy. Open door just means we're all free to come and go from this game as we please. Anyone can call a break. Anyone can call a break for the game at any time. Anyone can step away from the game for any reason and can step back in when they're ready. And all of us are empowered to say that, I don't think this game is for me. I'm just going to step out of the game. And if someone does decide that this game isn't for them and they need to resign, our reaction will be, cool, thanks for letting us know. Sorry you didn't like it. Hope we can game again. Hope we can play something else again in the future. That's open door in a nutshell. Any questions on that before we go on? Okay, the second tool that we're going to talk about is called Lines and Veils. Lines and Veils has been around. Lines and Veils was invented by Ron Edwards for his game Sorcerer back in the mid-aughts. With lines and veils, we can call out particular subject matters that we may find that we know ahead of time are going to be problematic for ourselves. If a subject is lined, that means it's not going to happen in the game. I'm not going to include it. You are not going to include it when, if and when you're handed narrative control. If I am running a published adventure, if that element was going to be in the published adventure, I will write around it. It's just not going to happen. If a subject is veiled, that means we can acknowledge that it happens in the game world. We may see signs that it has happened. We may hear reports that this sort of thing has happened, but it is not going to happen on camera, and it is not going to happen to any of the player characters. If a veiled subject comes up, maybe you'll hear characters talk about it, or there'll be a cutaway, or there'll be a fade to black. We're just not going to see it, and we're not going to dwell on it. In recent addition to lines and veils, there's been a third column called Ask First. If you want to put a subject that's ask first, that means you may be okay with that subject matter in some circumstances and not in others. And if something is asked first, we should have a quick out of game discussion about like the parameters that we want to put around that before we actually introduce that element. On our character keeper, I have a list of subject matters that are frequently lined or veiled. There's also a bunch of other lines, like blank lines, that we can add. So everyone can please, check the checkboxes versus things you would wish to line or veil. If you would like to upgrade something, if someone has hit something as an ask first and you want to upgrade that to a line or a veil, you certainly may do that, but you can't go the other way. You can't downgrade someone else's choice. I'm going to pause the recording right now so we can have talk. So if anyone has any questions, and we can talk about those. And we're pausing now. Okay, we have established lines and veils for this campaign. Just want to underscore that our lines and veils is a living document. If things come up during the game, or if we encounter things, or if you think of things that you forgot to put, we can always add them to the list later. Moving on, our third safety tool we'll be using is a reactive tool. This is called the X card. You can use the X anytime anything happens in the game that is making you uncomfortable. You can invoke the X card. We're all on camera here, so you can say X card. You can say that phrase X card, or you could use it as a verb. I want to X card that. If you're on camera, you can make an X gesture with your hands. So anytime something is happening in the game that is making you uncomfortable, please invoke the X card. We'll ask you what it is that you need removed or changed. Don't have to tell us why. You don't need to justify anything, and none of us will push back on X carding it. We may ask some clarification to know what we need, exactly what we need to change. We will then have an out of game discussion of what we should best do about it. Do we, so some options we could like we could rewind the scene and play it out again without that element. We could cut the scene there and just kind of like move on to the next one. We can make other changes as need be, and we'll move on. So you can X card anything. Like one example is if I've introduced an NPC and I gave them a name that you absolutely hate because it's the name of the bully that used to beat you up in 5th grade, and you just hate the name. Hey, you can X card the name. We'll just call that NPC we'll call that NPC something else. I mean, that character doesn't exist, and they don't care what we call them. And again, you don't have to tell us why you don't like the name. You just say, hey, can we just not use, can we just not use that name? And we'll say, okay, they are now this other name. You can also X card things that are happening not in game, but at the table. Like for example, if someone is regularly talking over you, or making too many suggestions on how you should play your character, or is regularly getting your name wrong, you can invoke the X card, which just means, hey, we need to have an out of discussion and we'll talk about this like adults and fix the problem. Other thing I like to mention about the X card is If something has happened in the game that you didn't really like, but it wasn't that big a deal and you decided to let it slide, and then it happens again, it is 100% okay to X card the second or third or fourth appearance of something in the game that you didn't really like the first few times. Didn't think it was going to come back, but it did. Totally okay to X card something that's already been introduced. Any questions about the X card? Okay. This isn't exactly a safety thing, but it's the best place for me to mention it. If something happens to me, whether I my freeze, or like the Zoom meeting quits, or I look concernedly over my shoulder, take off my headset and walk off camera, and I don't come back for 10 minutes, assume something's happened to me and that the game is over. I wish I could say that's never happened, but just like a couple of weeks ago, I was running a game for GCOG and I had a power failure. It was only out for a couple of minutes, but I couldn't get my AV to work after it came up. It took me a good hour it took me close to 45 minutes to get that going, so I had to cancel the game. Hope it doesn't happen tonight. We got 3 more sessions, so so that wouldn't necessarily be the end of the game, but in case that happens, go 10 minutes. If I don't come back in 10 minutes, take the rest of your evening back. That concludes my safety talk. Does anyone have any questions before we move on? Alrighty then. Let's talk characters. So I'm going to click over to the characters tab. I'm going to talk just like briefly about character gen. I want to talk briefly about character gen. I'll talk a little bit about the rules, and I think I'll pause the recording so we can actually, and we'll actually do the character creation off camera, because there's nothing more boring than watching people on a video like make characters. So Mothership is an old Mothership. I mean, it's a new game. It's not a retro clone of an older game, but it definitely falls into the OSR family of games. So it's an old school Renaissance game. By that it means the rules are pretty light. The rules are pretty light, so it's going to require the GM to make rulings, not rules. What rules there are kind of brutal from the character's perspective. Firefights in this game are deadly. You really don't want to get into a firefight if you really don't want to fight a space monster in this game, because kind of like in Alien, if you fight the space monster, there's a good chance that it's going to bite your head off, possibly quite literally. The combat system is deadly and it's brutal. So you might want to try to be clever and use the environment, use the environment to your advantage, use your skills to your advantage, be clever, ask questions. Like when I present stuff, if I present stuff, use it. These are all tools for you to play with. Try to be clever, try to be, at the same time, it's 4 sessions. This is basically an extended one shot. So you can certainly, drive your characters like you stole them, embrace the chaos. But I just want to underscore that the rules of the game are kind of brutal, and it's deliberately so. So the smart character will try not to engage in combat if they can avoid it. But the combat rules are there for when you have to. This is a D100 roll under system. So when you make checks, your stat. So you're going to have a stat. Generally, you're going to want to roll under your stat. You want to roll your stat or less on D100. One interesting thing about Mothership is you read the numbers as 0 to 99. So 00 on the dice is a 0. It's not a 100. If we're using an online dice roller, I think it is going to come up as 100. Well, if it comes up 100 on the dice roller, that's a 0. The way the dice, so you have stat checks, which is generally what you do to do something. You also have what are called saves. basically it's the same. It's the same thing. You want to roll your save or less, and that's how you avoid stuff. Your character has 4 stats: strength, speed, intellect, combat. They're pretty much what they say on the box. You also have 4 saves: insight, fear, and body. Do want to make one note. The game as printed uses a sanity score. I do not like to use sanity scores in games because I think it trivializes actual real world mental illness. So instead of sanity, we'll be using insight for this game. Works just the same. This game does not have levels, but it does have character classes. There are 4 character classes. There are the Marine, that's the soldier type. There is the Scientist, that's the researcher knowledge type. There is the Teamster, that's the blue collar space worker, just kind of like more of a generalist. And there's the Android. Androids in this game are kind of like biomechanical. They're kind of more like they're more like a replicant from Blade Runner than say Data from Star Trek. So they do have like synthetic organic organs. Although I like to say that they don't necessarily bleed red. I think they're so they're somewhere between a replicant from Blade Runner and an android from the Alien universe. So those are your choices. They have different character classes have different abilities. Like for example, the big thing about the android is that they have an insanely high fear save because they don't have much by way of emotions, and therefore they don't they don't get scared very easily at all. They can get scared, but not very easily. Scientists have bonuses to scientists get to start with like expert level skills to start. No one else does. Marines are really good with weapons, and Teamsters are kind of generalists. They have a few more skills than everybody else, and they get a stat bump to all their stats. Let's see here. Yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. So there's another mechanic in this game called stress and panic. Your character has a stress score. As the game goes on and as things get worse and worse, your stress score will go up. Your stress has a maximum stress score of 20. If for whatever reason your stress goes over 20, any stress points that go over 20 will permanently reduce the score of one of your ability scores, your choice. Try not to go that high. Stress does not actually have much of an in-game mechanic in terms of like doing stuff. However, the higher your stress, the more likely you are to panic if you fail a fear save. And panic is a new the way panic works in first edition is a little different because it's different. Panic checks are the only thing that uses a D20 instead of D100. So they deliberately did that because it works different, and to also like hang a lantern on the fact that when you're making a panic check, it works differently, and this is actually something that could be pretty serious. We'll talk about panic if and when it comes up in the game. That's kind of like that's the really high level rules. So most of the time, and all characters also have skills. If you have a skill, skills are trained, expert, and master level. If you have a trained skill, it gives you it increases the relevant stat by 10%, so you get a 10% bonus on your skill check. Expert raises it by 15%, and a master increases it by 20%. You can also spend stress. You can also spend stress to try to like give yourself a bump on various saves. So you can choose to spend stress to succeed on saves that you would otherwise fail. We'll talk about that once that comes up in the game, but I just wanted to throw that out there. The This game doesn't exactly have hit points. Instead, your characters have 2 or 3 wounds, depending on your character class. You have a number of health points per wound. So basically, as you take wounds, as you take damage, you apply it to one of your wounds. When your wound has absorbed all the damage it can, we then make a we then roll on we then mark it off so that wound can't take any damage anymore, and then we roll on the wound table, and that'll tell us how bad the damage actually is. There isn't a lot of healing in this game either. Healing is pretty much a downtime activity. You generally have to like go to a hospital or a med bay and stay there for a while to heal. So that's a high level version of the rules. I threw a lot at you, and we'll figure out more as we actually get into play, but I wanted to get that on the recording. I'm going to pause the recording now, and we will step through character creation. I expect this is going to take, this is probably going to take, another half hour, 45 minutes or so, and we will return once we have a crew. Okay, we're back. We've taken a good amount of time to figure out our characters. So let's go around the table in, I guess, character keeper order. Let us know your high level about your character. I'll set a little, and then we'll set the situation. So just a little, just for context. So we're going to be starting out. Your characters are on. Actually, why don't I give you a little more background before we introduce your characters? So your characters are on Hardlight Station. Hardlight Station is a small but bustling commercial outpost, which is orbiting at the edge of the Epsilon Eridani system. The administrator of this station is owned by Nakatomi Solutions Incorporated, and it's under the current administration of one Takako McLean, who is the chief administrator of this station. And the station is located fairly close to a jump gate. So, but this station is not particularly, the system itself isn't, doesn't really have a lot going on. It's mainly here in proximity to like shipping lanes. So the station regularly rents space out to other businesses. At the moment, the major there are a number of smaller businesses that are operating here at Hardlight Station. The major one is a facility run by the Health Tech Corporation. They do advanced medical research. They also run a hospital here. It's actually a pretty well equipped. It's a pretty well equipped hospital, and they also do all kinds of like medical research here. There are a number of other businesses that operate out of here. There's ship refitting. There's there's space docks. Plenty of it's also a trade center. Plenty of places will bring places here. They'll be picked up by other systems that are going by other ships that are going to other systems. So it's not a huge station, but it's it's a small-ish station, but it's doing pretty well. Let's see. So, of all things, so you're in the Epsilon Eridani system, so you're only a couple of jumps away from a few jumps away from Earth, so you're fairly close. You're not really way out in the rim, but again, the station doesn't have, the system that it's in doesn't have any inhabitable planets, so there isn't a lot of trade to this system, but this is a convenient place to construct a jump gate. So our four main characters, and I guess we'll do a little bit of world building here just for background's sake. So we'll say that starting out, these four characters, you have been, you know each other, you've been working on the same ship. The ship's been docked here for a little while. I'm just going to say that for some reason your ship needed some repair. The ship that you were on needed some repairs, and it came in here, and it is currently being repaired. You're probably going to be heading off again in another few days. But in the meantime, it happens to be, you happen to be on a station at Christmas time. So the station's all, so the station has been all decked out with Christmas decorations. And and in the central atrium, which is kind of like a public area, it's kind of like half mall, half like open area. There's like a big geodesic dome where you can look out at the stars. There's like a big Christmas party going on there, that like all employees of the various businesses are welcome to be there. Most businesses, a number of the businesses are still open. Presumably the employees are like getting extra time to be working during the party time. But so there's bars open, there's stores open. But yeah, there's a big there's kind of like, basically it's a station-wide Christmas party in the central atrium. So why don't we go around and introduce our characters, and why don't you tell us what you're doing on the what you're doing in the atrium of this? I'm kind of imagining like Deep Space Nine's Promenade or the Zocalo from Babylon 5. Except it's got like a big geodesic dome that you can see out. So let's go around and introduce our characters and tell us what you're doing at this party. Why don't we start with Mark?
I am playing Banks, she, her. Banks is an android. And Banks is very good working with computers, things along those lines. Banks doesn't have a defined job here at this gathering, and that kind of bothers her. So she is kind of going around trying to make herself useful to whoever needs help in whatever way she can. And that might involve moving some things around, walking around with a tray with hors d'oeuvres on it, or anything along those lines.
Okay. What does Banks look like, out of curiosity?
Banks has dark hair and a charcoal jumpsuit. And there's nothing else really remarkable about her, except that she wears around her neck a neon phosphorescent glow stick. And we'll see how long I can tolerate this.
Love it. And how is it I guess we will ask, I guess I will like just pose this question in terms of world building. In this universe, is it obvious that are androids obviously androids? Are some androids obviously androids? Are all androids supposed to be obvious, but some aren't? Like, and if so, can people tell, how long does it take for someone to realize that you're an android?
Well, there's a whole test that they have to administer, Mike. I think that androids here are generally not readily discernible from humans. You have to pay attention. You have to pay kind of close attention. But if you pay close attention for a few minutes and you're reasonably smart, then you can figure it out.
Just in terms of like demeanor, or is there something physical that you can tell?
Yeah, I think it's a combination.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's some like their eyes move just like when their eyes scan, it's not quite as smooth as a human's in some way. That's a little bit of a telltale sign. And in their mannerisms a bit.
Okay. Very cool. We have met Banks. Joe, would you introduce us to your character, please?
All right, I'll be playing Eddie, he, him. Eddie's sort of a classic below decks grease monkey, sort of keeps the ship running. I kind of have in my head the idea of I don't remember which Alien movie it was, but the two dudes that were always down in the bowels of the ship doing their thing. I kind of have, I think he kind of has that sort of stoner vibe, and he's always got Cat with him. And so I think at the party he wears like, I see him wearing like those kind of classic kind of that, I don't know, it's like a jumpsuit overall sort of thing that you see crew people wear in those movies. They have it like down, where they wear it like down, like off their, so it's kind of like the top part of it's off, but he has that all up because Cat is in his kind of in his overalls there, and he's just kind of sitting, I imagine him just, he's drinking, he's got a drink, and he's just kind of sitting looking out over, by himself, just watching the people and everything at the party.
Nice. So I'll ask two questions. So what does Eddie look like, and what does Cat look like?
I think he's kind of young. So he's young, kind of younger, and just kind of a little bit long, dark hair. And Cat is, let's go with a tabby, sort of an orange.
Orange, short-haired orange tabby.
Yeah.
Awesome, love it. Fantastic. So yeah, the camera comes in, and like Eddie's. Are you like sitting at a bar? Are you like wandering around with a drink in your hand?
I kind of imagine him just kind of maybe back off away from other people, just kind of like overlooking things, and I think he's kind of feeding Cat little bits and pieces that he gets off the hors d'oeuvre trays and stuff like that.
Nice, love it. Okay, great. Would you introduce us to your character, please?
All right, I am playing Olga. Her pronouns are she, her. Olga's a woman sort of in late middle age, but in reasonably good physical shape. She's but prickly, does not tolerate bullshit easily. So I think she's on the outskirts of the party, sort of nursing a drink.
Okay. Okay, cool. And Mashinik, would you introduce us to your character, please?
Sure, yeah. I'm playing Riggs, he, him, and I think, the coveralls that he's wearing are an immediate signal that he's like one of the Teamsters, that he does, metal work, steel work sort of thing, maybe some demolitions and repair. But he's actually, he's socializing and mixing it up with some people from some of the other businesses, maybe that that maybe they don't look like they would all be hanging out together, but he's sort of large framed and easygoing, and he's playing dice. He's got a couple of ivory dice that he's playing a game with some folks, and he's predominantly losing, but it's low stakes, and that's part of the charm, and so he's just engaged in conversation, playing some dice with different people from all over the station.
Awesome. So yeah, this is clearly a Christmas party. I'm going to again, for just kind of like set dressing here, I'm gonna introduce a couple of things, and I'm gonna like ask each of you like to add like a detail as to how this place has been decorated for Christmas. I'm gonna say two things. Kind of in the center of, like I'm in the center. I'm imagining that this atrium is like kind of open and kind of airy, which is unusual for a space station to have like an area that's this big, and it's actually kind of it's kind of like refreshing to people that have, I mean, it's either really refreshing to people that have been like in cramped spaceships for a long time, or it's kind of terrifying to like have a ceiling that's so high above your head and not be actually on a planet. But it's, you know, it's kind of an unusual situation. Kind of in this, and I'm imagining that there's like on the ground level, there's like I'm imagining it's kind of like a big round room. There's like a ground level, you know, that's got some, and I think there's like two rings, that two like terraces that go around. So there's like a ground level, there's like a level that's, you know, maybe 20 feet up, and then another level that's 20 feet up, and then there's the dome overhead. In the center, like in the center, on the ground level, there is a holographic projection of like a 30-foot tall Christmas tree. You know, it's like picture perfect hologram. I mean, you can tell it. I mean, you can tell it's a hologram because you can. I mean, because it's like semi-transparent. I mean, it's more or less transparent, but you know, it's there. There's some, you know, there's like some fake snow falling down on it. It seems to come out of nowhere and doesn't actually settle. It's just kind of like there because, you know, it's not really snow. And you know, it's twinkling with the lights. Also, wandering around the festivities is an obvious android dressed as Santa Claus, who is 100% doing the whole Santa Claus thing, to the point that you think that this is one of those androids, that it's one of those like really special purpose androids that was specifically built to be Santa Claus, is brought out for, you know, is brought out for a month of the year, and then is like, you know, turned off and put into storage for like another for like the other 11 months. So it probably can talk about Christmas. Probably not a whole lot melt shells. Let's go in reverse order on the character keeper, and just want to, like, you know, add another detail as to what's, you know, how they have decorated this area for Christmas. Riggs, what do you notice that this place has decorated?
Well, I think you know, Riggs is really focused on his game, and the thing that he's taking in is less the decorations and more that they have put on some of the Christmas classics in so amidst the conversation and people mingling, you know, he can hear some of those old standards, those old holiday tunes that seem like they just never go away. So you know, he's just thinking about that as he hears it.
That recording of like Frank's that recording of Frank Sinatra, it's 300 years old, but people still trot it out at every Christmas.
Yeah. Still on the playlist somehow.
I love it. Olga, what have you noticed that how the station has been decorated for Christmas?
Well, yeah, there's various Christmas cookies that are available, you know, not only at shops, they're out on the buffet, even like on the second story, there's just cookies circulating everywhere. And, you know, most of them are probably the synthetic stuff, but I think around here there might be some good ones.
I love it. Eddie, same question. What do you observe that how this place has been decorated for Christmas?
I think that there's mistletoe hanging up at various places, and people are partaking in the opportunity to be mistletoe-y and the shenanigans that happen at corporate Christmas parties.
Love it. And Banks, same question. As you're as you just are assisting people with the with this party, just out for like, how do you notice that this place has been decorated?
So I think that there is a drinks fountain, and I can't decide between like champagne or mulled wine. What do you folks think should be in the fountain? We'll go with mulled wine. And so people just walk over and fill their cups with the mulled wine. And Banks is walking around and she points to her patch on the on her shoulder that says, "Warning, keep well lubricated," as she's handing out drinks to folks.
Are you also Are you also partaking?
No.
Okay. Awesome. An announcement comes over the PA system. Announcement comes over the PA system, which just says, and it's a rather a rather maternal sounding voice that's kind of prim and proper. Says, this is Administrator McLean, and I just want to wish everybody aboard Hardlight Station a wonderful Christmas. For those of you who are not for those of you who are off duty, we strongly we invite everybody to come to the central atrium for for our annual holiday party. I'll be joining you in not too long, but please join the festivities and Merry Christmas. It's not long after that that you do notice that I mean, since you're like in this atrium and you can see out, there does seem to be a ship approaching from the direction of the jump gate, which is odd because most of, I mean, it's space and things have to happen all the time, but usually with scheduling, you probably wouldn't be traveling on a day like this. But anyway, yeah, there's a ship approaching. So it sounds like none of you are together or anyone. Does anyone want? I mean, is anyone looking to do anything else? Looking to? Oh, I forgot to share the map because you've all been here long enough that you at least know the layout of this station. So let me put that on the sheet. Give me just a minute here. Do that, and so I'm putting a new sheet on the character sheet, which is just going to be station map. And this is just a copy of the GM's map from the book, but there's nothing there that y'all can't see. So yeah, that's there. That's there. That didn't work. What did I just do? I'm gonna go insert image in cell, browse, drag a file here. I'll drag a file there. There we go. So that is uploading. Yeah, I just copied the image from the. I just copied the image just to give folks a little better idea of like how the station is laid out. We're just going to say for the sake of argument that there is such a thing as artificial gravity. So yeah, there we are. So you are in. So that should have just loaded. So if you want to hop over to the station map tab, that's telling you the various areas of the station. And you are in the atrium section. You are in the atrium section, which is not too far from the docks. So that's where your ship is. and those red routes are like more or less tell you like how you get from one section to the other. That's the central promenade. Okay, yeah. So now that you've got a little bit of a visual, yeah, so yeah, there's a party going on. There's a whole lot of people milling about. Let me do a quick roll here. Where is that NPC list? And I'm going to roll a d10. Okay, well that makes sense. So, so Olga, like as this party is going on, you have struck up a conversation. You've struck up a conversation with a man who you think you're not sure if you've actually met, but looked vaguely familiar. A guy named Dr. Jingo Watson, who you may know professionally because he's a xenoarchaeologist.
Oh yeah, I think I've heard some of his papers.
Yeah, and so in the course of the conversation, he mentioned a recent discovery that he's heard of on from Tau Sigma 7. He knew of a colleague that was on a mission to Tau Sigma 7 that might have actually encountered some alien alien artifacts. I'm going to little bit of world building, kind of like in the Alien universe. The system there's really just humans, and you're all from Earth. You haven't encountered other intelligent alien spacefaring civilizations. You found planets. Planets have creatures on them. Some of them have been useful. Some of them have been dangerous. Humanity has not yet encountered an alien civilization. You have found on planets ruins of alien civilizations, but you've not encountered any living aliens yet. So, and finding such ruins is kind of a big deal, which is why there are xenoarchaeologists. But yeah, so he's saying, yeah, there's apparently they found looks like the remains of a city with like bits and pieces of technology. And he
Really?
leans in close. I heard a rumor that one of the research ships docked here not too long ago, but I haven't been able to find anything. I haven't been able to confirm that rumor.
Interesting. Well, if that's true alien, actual working technology, that's huge. I mean, well, you're the archaeologist, you don't need me to tell you that.
Very true. Yeah, that would be that would really be something else. That would really be something else. That would just like blow open. That would just blow open. There's a number of theories as to why we've encountered alien ruins, but no aliens. We don't really know what happened to them, if they left, if they died, if they. Well, I guess those are the options now, aren't they?
Yeah. Maybe they saw humans coming and thought, nope.
Yeah, it could be. But anyway, that's so yeah. If you can, if you hear anything about that, I'd be interested.
If I made that discovery, I would be here bragging about it to everyone.
Well, that's the thing. It's it seems strangely hush hush if this rumor is true.
Yeah.
You roll another. So let's see. So remind me, Eddie, what were you doing? What had you been doing again?
Eddie's just kind of hanging out, keeping his eye on. I mean, he's kind of a street rat, sort of, or a station rat, maybe, whatever you would call the space people. So I think he's kind of on the lookout for maybe being able to score whatever kind of recreational drug that would be kind of, available. We've been cooped up in that ship for a long time. He kind of wants to, unwind.
Okay.
So he's been kind of watching and looking at kind of watching what's going on, seeing if he can kind of spot where he might be able to find something, watching the people. I think he'd have an idea of what to look for.
Okay. So yeah, I hear. I mean, are you like chatting up random people, or most keeping to yourself, or?
I think right now he's just keeping to himself, just kind of keeping his eyes open for, if he sees, people that look like they might be approachable.
Yeah, I mean, there's a like kind of like sitting at a table. I mean, it's sitting at like a high top table. There's another guy who's clearly a veteran spacer such as yourself, who's yeah, just like kind of like nursing a beer, kind of like looking somewhat, I won't say sullenly, but it's just kind of like looking around this party as if it's like one of those people who's goes to parties, but just mostly hangs out by themselves unless someone else starts walking up and starts talking to them. Seems like this person might be approachable. No, older guy, older guy is probably in his like late 40s, early 50s. Dressed in like maintenance uniform, dressed in like a maintenance uniform. There's a few other people around.
Yeah, I think Eddie will kind of work his way over and maybe just sit down at the table and great party, eh, mate?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's kind of the same party every year, but it's kind of politic to show up.
This isn't really my scene. Too many suits, too many corpies and stuff. I like to unwind.
No, I hear you. I hear you. This is one of those kind of mandatory fun events. You're strong. The boss strongly encourages you to make an appearance. But hey, one round was on the house, right?
Sure. Do you know maybe where one might go to, unwind a little more than this?
Well, absolutely. Well, I mean, and he kind of like points in the direction of so the atrium like leads to like a more somewhat more upscale commercial district. It's the stuff that's where that is actually where like the suits and the corporate people would probably go. A lot of the stuff in those, it's like if you've ever been in an airport and you've like in the real world and you've seen like the high end boutiques in airports, that's the kind of stores that would be in that section. He also mentions that that when that's where the Hardlight Hotel is. it's I mean, it's our and again, I mean, where it is here. You've been on the station for a couple of days. But yeah, there's a hotel over there. It's a little on the pricey side for what you get, but then again, you're like at a station on the rim somewhere. But yeah, it's Hardlight Hotel. It's a bar. It's a bar and casino. Yeah, that's where you'd probably really want to go to unwind, not at this, not at this like corporate bullshit party.
Well, thanks for the tip, mate. And
Yeah.
I'll saunter off a little bit towards that direction and just see what's going on.
Okay. Cool. Again, who do you so who does Banks encounter? Banks is going to encounter one from are Jew. Okay, so Banks, if you were like handing out drinks, there is there's there's a woman who's dressed in like really high fashion, like higher fashion than you would expect at a like higher fashion than you would expect at such a party. She walks up to you and says, "So, oh, looks like so. Are you the?" She looks you up and down and says, "You don't really seem like the bartending type."
This isn't my normal position. I'm just assisting.
Oh, well, interesting. She extends her hand. My, they call me Tally. Haven't been to a Christmas party like this in forever.
So I think that Banks is trying to maybe like she's trying to think if there's a media personality or somebody named Tally, maybe like Tally Isham or someone like that.
You can't really think of an actual celebrity, but this might be someone. I mean, this might be someone who's perhaps like locally known on the station.
Ah, okay, cool. So I shake her hand and ask her, "What do you do on the station?"
Oh, I'm in communications. I work for marketing, and you may have seen me around. And as you glance around, you do notice that as some of like the video billboards that are advertising things, one happens to flip, and there's Tally, who is so that's probably where you've seen her. She's she's an advertisement for she's in an advertisement for the casino. No, I do that every once in a while. Oh, she says, I do that every once in a while because I guess I'm photogenic, she says. And she is kind of attractive.
You're a very attractive person.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, mostly I do marketing. I work for mostly I do marketing for health tech, though.
What type of products do you sell for health tech?
Well, we do mostly pharmaceuticals and biomedical research. We've got a division that's doing cybernetic implants. We've got another that's doing drug research. It's the drug research that's been really, it's the drug research that's been profitable. We've got survey teams that have gone to a whole bunch of planets, extracting various biological and botanical things that have had very interesting medicinal properties for humans. Strange how things that evolve in a completely different environment can really do a good can really easily mesh with humans, like human systems.
That's interesting. Are all of these pharmaceuticals plant-based?
Oh, well, I mean, I don't know the science really, but that'd be more for a question for like one of our med
Thanks.
team.
As she says that, Banks starts to kind of just look around like she's losing interest in this conversation. She says, do you know anything about the cybernetics that health tech is working on? I have a friend who has an interest in that.
She leans in and says, well, they are certainly working on some new interfaces. And some of the biochemical reagents that they're working on, at least I've heard that it's going to bring in a new revolution in interfacing biomechanical cybernetics with with the living tissue that they can replace. It's going to be something else.
Can you indicate any of the technicians that are working on this technology in this room right now?
She pauses. I think so. She looks. Well, Jared over there. She points at someone who is like laughing way too hard and is obviously really drunk right now. Says, Jared, but you probably don't want to talk to him right now. Especially, it looks like he's on his fifth. Yeah, he's not going to be very coherent. She looks around. I don't really see anyone else at the moment. And she pulls out a card. If you're looking for sales, give us a call. She doesn't hand out a card. This is the 20 whatever cent. This is like
it's the equivalent. Yes.
She pulls out like her personal computing device and beams over her contact information into your 20
into my neural network.
I mean, yeah, I suppose if you're an Android.
No, that seems like a bad idea.
I mean, I'm guessing that people carry around something akin to a smartphone.
Yeah, of course. Yep, that makes sense.
But yeah, she wouldn't be handing you an actual business card. That would be too 1970s retro sci-fi.
I liked it though. I was ready for it.
That could even be, she hands, maybe they do actually hand out something, but it's got like a smart chip embedded so that it's got like lots of information, but you can still look at it.
Grabs your attention that way.
Exactly. Have I hit everybody with an intro scene, or did I miss it? Did I skip anybody?
I don't think Riggs.
Riggs, I miss.
Can I segue to Riggs?
Yeah, absolutely.
So she takes the card and says, "Thank you, Tally. It's but a pleasure meeting you." Her face doesn't betray that there's any pleasure and joy at all as part of this. And she walks over because she's noticed out of the corner of her eye that Riggs is gambling. And she walks up to Riggs and says, "Riggs, I feel like I keep going over probabilities with you. Your likelihood of actually gaining any money during the course of this transaction is extremely slim. Would you like me to show you again?"
No, Banks. I know the probabilities, and I know the house always wins. But I'm just having a good time here with my new friends.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, though. Do you want to play?
No. And then Banks turns and walks away with the camera left on Riggs.
Love it. So yeah, you're playing dice for money. Who is the person you are playing with? Let's go with. Let's roll on the people of the station table. So yeah, you're So you're at the casino, or you're just playing an informal? Or you're actually outside the casino, like at the casino, or you're just playing like an informal dice game with like people at a bar?
Informal dice game at one of the round tables. There's clearly some cookies on it, and a few of us have just gathered around. It's low stakes, so that's the thing that Banks doesn't get is that Riggs knows, that like he's not that great with dice games, but he's not playing for a lot of money, so he can cover it.
Got it. So I mean, you're just playing for it's low
Super
stakes. It's just
casual. Yeah.
super casual, just a couple of credits here and there.
Yeah, just a way to break the ice with people, that sort of thing.
Okay, and there's a woman has joined you. She's probably in her early 30s. Introduces herself as Zoe and says that, and seems like pretty eager to gamble. And as you're playing, she keeps trying to increase the stakes. Although if you keep it, she like, so she's gone double or nothing a couple of times. She's got, she clearly has some cybernetics. She's got like a cybernetic like computer jack port on the side of her neck. Although looking at it, you might want to get that looked at because that's looking kind of infected. And also, one of her eyes is slightly different color, and you can tell that eye has been also cyber enhanced. And whoever did it didn't exactly match the iris, her original iris color. But she's talking to you and she's asking like, so where are you from? Is your ship looking for like, does your ship take passengers? And if so, how much would it take to get off of this rock? Well, it's not really a rock, but how much would it take you to get? So how much would it take to get me off of this bucket of bolts?
I don't actually know how much the crew would want to charge to ferry you somewhere, but we would most certainly need to know where you wanted to go. But it doesn't matter anyways. We're here getting some repairs done on our ship, so we're kind of stuck for a couple of days. If you don't mind me asking, why would you want to leave? I mean, look at this atrium. This is pretty nice.
She leans in like looking at your dice. Well, one gambler to another, I kind of owe the casino more than I have, and it would probably behoove me to not be here when they stop extending my credit.
I get it. I've been there. Well, good thing you keep beating me as like I push the last round of her winning kind of in her direction. So yeah, just a little hot water with the casino. Maybe you could lay low for a while, and in a couple of days, come see my friend Banks. You just went by. Cool customer, right?
Well,
We'll introduce you to my friend Eddie and to Olga, and we could all work it out. We're sort of a collective,
okay.
No one's gonna make like a decision about whether or not you're coming with us, but you could chill for a couple of days. Maybe we could hook you up. What are you thinking? I don't know. What you want to put a bid in? How much you got?
Well, yeah, I was mainly asking you how much you. I don't have it with me. She names a, and again, I don't know what going. I mean, I'm not going to make numbers up. She says, well, I mean, if I could just get to the next system and she names a price which is really it's significantly lower than what an actual ticket on like what an actual like coach ticket on a on an actual transport would be. But she said like, look, I could like help out on the ship or something like that. I just need to get out of here.
Yeah. So look, like I said, I've been there. totally makes sense. You don't have the money to cover your debt. You're not going to have the money to pay a premium rate to get off the station.
I mean, it's not like I'm trying to fly. It's not like I'm trying to fly first class here, but I just
Yeah. Well, you haven't seen our ship. I mean, it's it's not first class. But
she laughs at that.
like I said, you got a card or something? I hear that people pass cards around the station.
Oh yeah, she pulls us. Yeah, she opens up a. Oh, I think I said she's got cyber implants. She flexes her arm, and then like this little a little slot pops up, and hands you hands you hands you one of these like silicon cards.
Classy. Very nice. Is it just Zoe Gambler underneath, or is there anything?
She looks. It does have her full name. It's Zoe Key, QI.
Okay.
And the card lists her profession as entrepreneur.
Of course. The best. All right, super flexible. Yeah, Riggs is, like I said, classy, compliments the card, slides it in his pocket and says, I'm gonna go catch up with Banks, and we'll be in touch.
Okay. It was good meeting you. Good meeting you, Riggs. I hope we can. I hope this conversation will be productive.
Yeah, odds are looking in your favor. See you around.
So I'm going to go back to Olga, who I mentioned earlier. There was you noticed that there was a ship approaching, which you thought was a little odd. Well, that ship is still approaching, and it's approaching. That approach vector is way too fast. It's going to be docking that approach vector is way too fast, and it's going to be docking in just like a couple of seconds, and it's not going to have a chance. And it almost looks like it's on a collision course. What do you do? No one else seems to have noticed, at least in the party. I think you're muted. Audio. Yes. Double secret muted. No problem. I do that. I have not this headset, but my other headset. Yeah, it will sometimes mute and not unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, so when I see this ship coming in, I try and get the attention that guy was talking to and just point at it and say, shit, that ship is coming in too fast. And then
he looks
up, like sort of duck behind the bar a little bit.
He looks up, and he just like his mouth opens up and he says, "Oh shit!" And it's just at that time that you see a flash from this ship, because it's obviously firing a ship weapon, and that's when you all hear like an explosion, and there's like a bit of a jostling of the station. The Frank Sinatra music that was playing suddenly cuts out, and an automated voice says, "Emergency! Emergency! Impact detected! Emergency! Emergency! Impact detected! Emergency! Emergency!" And then that goes out to 2. The lights are still up. At this point, there's at this point there's some panic. You hear another, like, again, kind of off in this distance, you hear another kind of another explosion. What do you like? Let's go across. Olga, you have the scene now. What do you do?
I'm gonna call my crewmates, whether we have some sort of comms or
You've got comms. You got comms.
yeah, I'm gonna call my crewmates and say, hey, something's wrong here. We got it.
Is this like group? Is this like group? Is this like a group communication?
Yeah. I think I'm paging all of them. Like,
okay.
Hey, something's really wrong here. I don't know what, but I don't feel good about this dome. I want to get somewhere with doors that seal.
Camera's gonna hop over to Eddie, who just got this call. What do you do?
I think he's like, what the fuck? Let's get out of here. Let's get to the ship. Is
the ship working?
Who cares? It's sealed.
I was going to say your ship was flyable. At least it was before the repairs. You're not sure what state it's in at the moment, but and so I guess the two of you are heading in that direction. Camera hops over to Banks, who also heard this conversation. What is Banks' reaction?
Banks says, currently our ship's hull integrity is compromised as part of the repairs. It's not going to be able to produce atmosphere for us. I suggest we move someplace else.
And Riggs, you heard that. What do we see Riggs doing when the camera like hops over to where you are?
Yeah, I'm already had a bead on Banks and was trying to catch up to her, feeling the impact, getting the call. I hear to the ship and Banks's reply, and the first thought that I have is to the med bay. And so I just say to the med bay. And then, I don't know what anyone else can say about that, but that's
med bay, got it.
In my mouth.
Can I just say, Joe, I stepped on your character suggestion and with some other fiction. Are you okay with that?
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, just want to make sure. Sorry.
Okay,
I'm just panicking a little bit. So
got it. Oh, and I forgot. You are on a station that got hit. Everyone, please take a stress. No panic. Nobody's going to panic yet. So the four of you meet up in one of the corridors. Let me hop over to the station map here. The four of you meet up. At this point there's like, I won't go quite so far as to say pandemonium, but there is definitely panic. There's some people wandering, people like running around. As you are heading toward the promenade that was going to lead down to med bay, you hear the sound of gunfire behind you. As you are heading as you're heading away from the atrium, a group of 6 station security personnel with their weapon, it's not like the heavy super armor, but they've got your basic like station police armor, and weapons drawn, and they're like running past you back toward the atrium. You're starting to hear some yelling behind you. What do you do?
I suggest we go the opposite direction that those guys are going.
Which is more or less the direction you were going in the first place. You kind of like passed each other in the hall, going in opposite directions.
I think that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say they were coming from the area marked Security Administration, and you are going to the part marked Med Bay from the atrium, and they were heading toward the atrium. So yeah, you're kind of like passing each other. A voice comes over, a voice comes over the PA system. It is not. It is, and says, "Attention, attention, all personnel. This is Administrator McLean. This station is under attack. Repeat, the station is under attack. Unknown vessel has blasted its way into the docks. Everyone take cover. All security personnel to the docks. All security personnel to the docks."
What the hell, Olga says. Who attacks a research station on Christmas? Who does that?
Eddie's like, who cares? Let's get out of here. And would we have access like to a schematic like that? Would there be parts of the station where it would show you are here and kind of pointing to stuff?
Sure, that makes total sense. I mean, I'm just going to say you've got a map. I mean, it's a little more. I'm going to say it almost looks like like one of those like for those of us who remember malls, those like mall schematics that say like you are here. It's like
That's
that,
what I
but
was
it's like that, but it's a video screen and it's got a touch screen, so you can like zoom in and see what the various places are. I mean, it clearly shows which places are off limits to the public, but and those are kind of like grayed out, so you can't really see details there, but at least the public areas of the station. So it tells you how to get to the health tech. It tells you how to get to the various businesses. It tells you how to get to engineering and med bay. So you know how to get to all of these areas that are on the station map. None of this stuff's secret. Actually getting through doors may require some kind of security pass, but at least you know where everything is. Okay, so you are heading down. So you are all heading down toward the med bay. Let's see. So Administrator McLean is the one who was speaking, but she gets cut off. And a different voice, and a different voice comes over the central PA system. And this voice is also a woman's voice, but this one's pretty gruff. And this new voice says, "Attention, all personnel of Hardlight Station. This is Captain Hannah Gruber. This is Captain Hannah Gruber of Blacksheild Security Systems. This station is now under our command. All personnel are ordered to move to their quarters immediately." Violators will be dealt with in the Blackwell manner. And you all know who Blackwell is. Blackwell, you all know Blackwell, or at least you've heard of Blackwell. Blackwell is an elite mercenary force that they are as good as any. They're as good as any they're as good as any army, but they are basically, they sell their guns to the highest bidder. So if anyone was going to attack a commercial installation, it would be these guys.
Question about our gear that we have. So do we have it stowed in our living quarters?
I am going to say that I am just going to say, for the sake of argument, that because your ship has been I think we've established that your ship is under a very significant repairs. That yeah, I think you've all got berths. I think you've all got like temporary guest berths that in the living quarters section. I don't think anyone's actually staying at the hotel because that's probably pretty pricey. But yeah, you've got like you've got like lowest echelon like living quarters. So you're probably you may be like two to a room. Or if you're not two to a room, it's like one of those. It's like one of those. I forget what they call it. It's like one of those Japanese pod hotels.
A sleeping coffin.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna say that it's like it's like a sleeping pod. It's a little more space than that, but it's like a Japanese pod hotel. And yeah, I'm gonna say you probably have stored your loadout gear there. You can be walking around with whatever gear would make sense. I'm gonna say that the station is perhaps like a bit on the liberal side for people walking around armed. Again, just for the sake of I'm going to say you could probably have. I'm going to say if you had a non. I'm going to say if you had non-lethal weapons, that would probably you could probably be allowed to carry one of those. But yeah, I don't think they'd let you walk around with a. I don't think they'd let you walk around the station with like an assault rifle. You'll probably have to get back to your ship to pick that up. But if you have a non-lethal weapon like if you had a non-lethal weapon like brass knuckles or even a trank gun, you could probably have had that.
Should we divert from heading toward medbay to living quarters to get our personal gear?
Seems like a good idea.
Riggs?
Yeah, only one of us has a shotgun, and Eddie's not carrying it.
No,
There is that.
Just my kukri.
You can have that. I mean, it's a knife. You can use it as a combat knife. Okay. Oh, go on.
No,
Please
I was
go
just
on.
going to say Banks has a rifle as well. So
Yeah, that'd probably be back on the ship.
Oh, on the ship rather than in the quarters.
Yeah, I was just
That
thinking.
makes sense.
You probably. I think. Yeah, I was saying like really lethal weapons. I think they probably wouldn't let you. They probably wouldn't let people just take aboard the ship or
Very
take
good.
aboard the station.
But
So
my trank pistol might be with my gear in my
yeah,
temporary
but I think,
quarters.
but if you've got a trank pistol, I think you can carry that.
Right.
They don't want the kind of weapons that could conceivably, like blast a hole in the side of blast a hole in the side of the space station and vent atmosphere, because that would be bad. So I think we're going to end tonight's session with each of you like getting back to your living quarters, and let me know are you like taking shelter in there, or are you just like gearing up and readying yourselves for action? And if the latter, like let us give us a brief description of what that looks like to the viewers at home, if they were watching this as a TV show. Eddie, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I think so it sounds like all of our weapons would be back on the ship. So I think he's basically kind of grabbed all the stuff he has, and I think you see him talking to Kat, like calming Kat down, like it's gonna be okay, Kat. Like but he's really talking to himself, right? Like it's that sort of like, it's all right, Kat, it's gonna be okay. These people aren't interested in us. I think if we just stay here, we'll be just fine.
Riggs, what are you doing?
Sure. I think that Riggs has pulled some would like to, if people are okay with it, pull some of us together outside of the pod hotel and is pitching, you know, to us, and like, we're not gonna let these Blacksheild security group, you know, kowtow us, you know, into staying in these quarters. If we're all in these quarters, at some point in time, this is where they'll come for us. We should go get our weapons, shouldn't we?
I will note that the sound of the explosion was coming from the docks. That seems to be where they blasted their ship in, and that's where your ship is too.
Okay.
In the docks. So you might have to get past them to get to your ship.
All right.
Just putting that out there. Just,
yeah, Riggs's speech might be a little bit more like, "Wow, sounds like we're SOL." Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe others will have some thoughts.
I think that Banks says we'll need to find an alternative route to the docks if we wish to get to our ship. I don't think we'll be able to travel through the corridors as we normally would.
and Olga, anything to add, or like what is
So
what is gear,
Olga
what is
like
gearing
goes
up
to
with you?
so Olga goes to gather up her scientific gear that she's stashed here, and she's packing it all up. And then she takes a second look at the trank gun, takes it back out of the case, and like straps it onto her hip before packing up the rest of the gear.
Love it. Looking at the time, I think we're going to end this. I think we're going to end this session here. So we'll pick it up next time. I guess we'll pick it up next time with the four of you. I guess the four of you still in front of the living quarters, trying to figure out what your next steps are, and then I'll probably just like hard frame what that plan is. Executing whatever your plan is. So yeah, that was session 1 of Dying Hard at Hardlight Station. Definitely some. I mean, I more or less ran this straight out of the book here, so this was, clearly this is the dying hard part of this adventure. I'm going to end the recording here, but if you all would please stay on, I'd like to do a little. I'd like to take a couple of minutes just to do a little debrief afterwards, but I usually prefer to do that off camera. So, if anyone has been watching it to the end, that was session 1. Hopefully we'll have another session up for you to watch soon. Have a great day, and thanks for watching. Take care.